Well, hello, that's me again. Today is April 15th, 2025. It is Tuesday, I believe. And what you see in the beginning is actually what has been done this night, last night, by drones, Ukrainian drones. And as you can see yourself, it is all about attacking civilians. This is pure sheer terrorism, but this is what is supported increasingly by London and Europe. And well, it's a war crime and crime against humanity, but this is the only thing which they have left. And before we go any further, let's kind of go back a little bit to the events of yesterday, which, well, actually, I think in Russia it's still today, so to speak. So, and let's talk about it, because it's all kind of pertinent, it's all relevant, and, it's all germane to the topic of our discussion today. And we will start with Mr. Witkoff. And Mr. Witkoff is, you know what, give him the credit where the credit is due. He is actually trying, he knows Mr. Dmitriev, their personal friends, and so he is doing his best to do what he can to move along all those very, serious negotiations between Russians and Americans. But here is the thing which we have to understand. Russians want peace, as you will see yourself. Trump wants ceasefire. These are two different things. So, and Mr. Witkoff tells us the same what Mr. Trump essentially, stated yesterday, that, oh yeah, we're on the verge of things, happening, some great, wonderful, or whatever, the beautiful proposals will be basically articulated in the coming days. Well, according to Witkoff, Putin is pursuing a lasting solution. So beyond just a ceasefire, we got an answer to that. The envoy said, adding, it took a while for us to get to this place. A key part of any deal, Witkoff said, would be the recognition that Crimea, the Donetsk, Lugansk People's Republics, and Kherson and Zaporozhye regions are part of Russia. However, he emphasized that the proposed agreement goes beyond territorial issues. Exactly. There are security protocols, NATO Article 5 on collective security, a lot of detail attached to it. It is a complicated situation, he said. Still, Witkoff said he believes the two sides might be on the verge of something that would be very, very important for the world at large. And this is wonderful. And this is actually, well, he pretty much tells the truth, which of course Russians already, I don't know, they probably already have, all those, all kind of the calluses on their tongue, continuing to talk about it and speak about it and making statements about it, ranging from Mr. Putin to Mr. Lavrov, that again, root causes of all that. And Mr. Trump can say whatever he wants about that Mr. Biden, and this war is, Mr. Biden's, war. Well, yeah, how to put it, and he talks about this, and you can see yourself that he talks about that Zelensky started the war, then he backed for missiles. This is what Trump thinks. And you know what, with Trump, as many of us, the military experts and intel experts, such as Larry Johnson, talk about, he might be even believing what he is saying. He is just, he's that type of the guy, and what he says, he's always looking to purchase missiles. Zelensky begs for, air defense missiles. Not that they will do any good for him, but still. And when you start a war, you got to know that you can win the war, he said on Zelensky. You don't start a war against somebody that 20 times your size and then hope that people give you some missiles. And so, in an interview with CBS News on Sunday, Zelensky called on the U.S. to supply Ukraine with more air defense. Well, for starters, it doesn't matter how many air defense systems the United States supplies, or Europe for that matter, supplies Ukraine, it will make no difference whatsoever. And this has everything to do with the operational planning and the correlation of forces and means, including its arithmetic, quantitative, so to speak, component, but again, it's like explaining to American general what it all means. So, but Mr. Trump truly believes that, that Biden wars. He talks about this nonstop, and you look at it and wonder what the hell is he talking about when you consider the fact that during his tenure in the first term, it was then when this whole thing of arming Ukraine accelerated to tremendously, and by the end of his term, which was by 2020, Ukraine was armed, pretty much primed to get ready to attack the Donetsk and Lugansk republics, make sure that Russia interferes, and then, of course, in accordance to Biden and other, strategies such as Victoria Nuland, she's not strategy, she's dumb as a stump, but that's who they are. And then, the army of Ukraine, bleeds Russians in the Afghanistan style, and then Russian public rises against Putin's regime, and it's a kindergarten level. You do not expect anything from the Western politicians and their strategists, but that was the idea. And, well, it's becoming increasingly Trump's war, despite the fact that, yes, we do have communications between Russians and Americans, but if you listen to Mr. Lavrov, yesterday, for example, he talks about that primarily talks are about the, purely technical issues, very important ones, like resuming the, for example, embassies or returning back Russia's property in the United States, diplomatic property. But it's just that what it is. And so we are nearing the 80th anniversary of the defeat of the Nazi Germany in Axis forces in Europe. It's called VE, Victory Day in Europe, but for Russians it's 9th of May and the end of the Great Patriotic War. But so here we are, and this is, these are people which United States loves, that's the American elites. They how to put it, I don't know, it's just unbelievable. So, as you can see yourself, Politico talks about that Mr. Zelensky wants to organize the counter, if you wish, to the obviously Russian May 9th parade, which will be happening on May 9th in the Red Square at the 80th anniversary. So Kiev asked EU officials for May 9th visit to counter Putin's victory parade. Separately, Zelensky would like to meet leaders from the so-called coalition of the willing. I think that whoever will be by that time the Chancellor of Germany, he should go there. It's Nazi regime in Kiev. So should, for example, Mr. Starmer. Mr. Starmer obviously doesn't know the history, and that actually the Great Britain was the ally of the Soviet Union, and it was one of the three major victors in the World War II. But hey, whatever, they certainly should go there, and there will be many willing US senators and congressmen who would go there, because, well, how to put it politely, Mr. Lavrov, as I already stated, and I will again repeat this. You see, Mr. Lavrov yesterday, just to quote him, that about Trump and all his that, we are on the verge of something. So no, the minister said, answering a question from Kommersant newspaper, whether it was possible to formulate the main parameters of the agreement during Russian-American contacts. You see, Witkoff wants to say things, but no. And the key components of the settlements are not easy to agree on, he says. Yesterday, and so the key, and they are being discussed. And yeah, they are being discussed, but American side and Trump administration needs something to show for it. But May 9th is coming, and what can I say? Here's Mr. Lavrov yesterday, and I agree that, Europeans should go to Kiev and celebrate the Bandera, SS, he was a Waffen-SS officer, here's and applaud them. Canadians should go, and celebrate this, whatever that is. Evidently Russians defeated Nazis, but there are Nazis in Kiev. So, yeah, it's a very interesting situation. But Mr. Lavrov issues a stern warning yesterday to Germany. And he's talking about that Germany's old Nazi instincts are breaking through. You see, I specifically kind of make the timestamp, so to speak, with the closed captions. For this purpose, instincts of old instincts, Nazi instincts, are breaking through in them. If you look attentively at practically most political parties in Germany, they are essentially Nazi Germany, just covered with Nazi parties, covered with all kinds of the pseudo-liberal, so-called progressive rhetoric, which in itself a totalitarian ideology. And again, Nazism, it's racial, and most Germans, not all, most Germans, they count, for example, Russians as Untermenschen, rather, and as always was the case. But Russians now fully recognize this. They understand that the fight not with just political elite in Germany, but with the psychological and historical trauma of Germany, which was defeated by Russians and, destroyed. It was thanks to the, obviously, Western allies who preserved the Nazi seed. And then, of course, this Nazi seed sprouted in all kinds of the political, ideological, and art institutes all over the, let's say, Anglo-Saxon world. And of course, there is all this, whole thing, so to speak, about Nazis being preserved in Argentina and Latin America. So there you go. Nazism never died. It just takes all different shapes. And as the proverb says, again, I make sure that my German friends not misinterpret me. But in general, take any, most of the Germans, scratch it, and you will get there some Nazi or Wehrmacht, connection. And yeah, they never recovered from the utter destruction which Russians brought on them, Soviet people, essentially for what they committed. Killing 27 million Soviet citizens. So out of those 27 million, only 11 were the armed forces, Red Army. The rest of it were civilians. And you can see yourself, the Kiev regime gladly follows in the steps of those people. And I will not really disclose any kind of the special, truth if I will tell you that Russians do not take prisoners anymore, especially when you consider what was being done to Russian civilians in Kursk. So, and all this talk about brotherly people and all that, it's all PR. Reality is, overwhelming majority of Russians do not want to have to do anything with Ukrainians, not just with Ukraine. And this is what West does, because it's their proxy. They operate specifically on the most of the operational and tactical manuals. They are being run, command and controlled by all those amateurs from London and Washington. And as a result, even Statista now, which is, who would have thought about it? Look at this. Statista gives us the nationality of the mercenaries whose bodies were found in the Kursk region alone. Just Kursk alone. So, as you can see yourself, the largest contingent are Poles, and it is well-known fact that, for example, even Ukrainian soldiers who didn't lose their humanity, they were saying, they were telling Russian civilians in Kursk just to run away, because if Poles come in, they will commit atrocities on the unimaginable scale. Then, of course, good Lord, we have the Colombia. We have whatever the Georgia, yeah. Well, Georgians, obviously, they try to basically, how to put it, they try to revenge their humiliation in 5 days in 2008. And again, they are good at killing civilians primarily. Then they have French and Germans. Well, for them, it's kind of a repetition of their historical experiences of raping and pillaging Russians, and so nothing new. Then, of course, we have this British guys. I'm sure they're instructors from this vocational school for people with their IQ lower than 70, which is called Sandhurst, and their King's College, where they teach them how not to fight. 156 bodies. Americans were less, 89. So there are Australians and Japanese. So this is what has been confirmed by evidently Western sources. So, and There's nothing surprising about it. It is combined West essentially against Russians, and this primarily against Russian civilians because they have no capability, nor they don't have enough spirit, courage, and steadfastness to fight against Russian Stormoviks, for example. And yeah, that's what happens. Ukrainians, those guys, if you take a look at Pokrovsk, for example, now, as you can see yourself, there's a lot happening in Pokrovsk. If people think that, okay, Russians cleaned up the Kursk area and now in Sumy, fighting in Sumy area, here's your Pokrovsk. But then, of course, there is another thing which tells you very much about who those people are and why there will be no settlement in the sense of the ceasefire between Russia and United States. And again, Mr. Trump has to understand this. I'm pretty sure Mr. Putin informed Mr. Witkoff about what is going on there realistically, because Mr. Putin has a very good grasp of the situation on the ground. And if you take a look, for example, at the apart from the Pokrovsk, we have the situation with the Monastery there. As you can see yourself, groups of armed forces of Ukraine located in the Monastery and Gormal refused to negotiate. So yeah, Russians told them this is the last stronghold. What to do, just if you want to leave, please surrender. But guess what? This is what Nazis do. And do not forget, it is very many of those people. They are not really Russian Orthodox people. No. Many of them, including the Nazi top of the Kiev regime, they are Protestants. For them, it is also religious. That is why, for example, they humiliate all sacraments of the Ukrainian Orthodox Church. And guess what? They took the monastery. How critical, how nadir it is. Hostilities may affect the territory of the St. Nicholas Belogorsky Monastery, since the armed forces of Ukraine have placed mortar and artillery crews in it. As the Russian security forces told TASS, the armed forces of Ukraine refused to negotiate the surrender. Of course, it is all about PR and the whores, which are the Western so-called journalists and war criminals. Most of them are war criminals. They will obviously support them. Again, you cannot, that's the second nature for them, to be Nazis, to be fascists, to be what. And so the enemy refused any negotiations, placing mortar and artillery crews inside the monastery. To our deepest sorrow, the hostilities will still affect the territory of the monastery. The command of the armed forces of Ukraine has once again proved that nothing is sacred for Ukrainian neo-Nazis, the agency interlocutor stated. Of course, there's nothing sacred. They execute children, they rape women, they call on their wives, to come to, at that time when it was occupied by them temporarily, in Kursk, to literally just rob the houses and choose what is good for actually selling on the black market, on the flea markets. And if you think that these are normal people, they are not. Neither are normal people in the, a position of any power in Europe. And again, I want to return again to this, all these giddy articles about, oh yeah, alternative for Germany may get the, some kind of the representation in government. And so what? Again, people look at the numbers. Look at, for example, how Germany votes. If you put together everything else apart from the alternative for Germany, they are still in minority party. Majority of the population of Germany, for example, they have a holy hatred, towards Russians, and they are brainwashed. Period. Simple as that. British, yeah, it's 1984, it's Airstrip 1. French, I mean, that's pathetic. They are really good at only, just committing atrocities. And what can I say? I mean, this is the combined West. And so this is the point of constant negotiations between Russians and Americans. And again, the only reason the United States is engaged now in these negotiations is simple. It's how to beg Russians to save whatever is left of the American face. And this is about off-ramp. Simple as that. And this has everything to do with the this proverbial thing of which I speak non-stop, I write books about it, it's COFM, correlation of forces and means. United States understood the correlation of forces and means is drastically not in its favor. So, but let's demonstrate to you a little bit more about how they really suffer from this. And here is a very interesting thing. There is what is called the trick, if you wish, or operational thing, tactical thing in the intelligence services. It is well known that you don't have to be very, specialist in the, operations of influence to understand that. Many volumes have been written about, like, for example, the bodyguard of lies and all kinds of other things about those operations by intel services. For example, very simple. If I have money and I have a degree of the penetration of the enemy, I can do the operation of influence. How? I can finance some creep, and this creep could be nobody. And this is what, by the way, USAID was doing. But this creep could be semi-literate hack, but I will pay him to say things which I want him to say, and then later I will refer to this creep or organizations such as, for example, Medusa, or this Michael Baum, the imbecile who works for the Moscow Times, which is of course a foreign agent in Russia, and then I refer to them as some kind of the authority. This is simple as that. I'm like, oh no, this is not me. Look at that. Look, these are those professionals, for example, from Russia who say things which confirm my point, which of course will be completely false. And here it is. So when I say that all those American primarily, but Western military porn sites, such as like Task and Purpose, 1945, or We Are the Mighty, whatever the hell this is, all kinds of the fanboys, out there who have zero understanding of the military. They have no real serious cadre military education. They all create those sites and they masturbate there, primarily on those, well, it's current news, so to speak, which are very easily picked up from the official sites of, let's say, in the United States Pentagon, Secretary of Defense, and things of this nature. So, and here's an example. And this is a butthurt because obviously the United States has been humiliated militarily in Ukraine, and this is what is this all about. And here it is. And I'm not even the specialist in the armor technology, but I have some ideas about those things. So, and here it is. Yeah, this is what it is. This is coping of the unimaginable scale. Task and Purpose. And this is yesterday. The Russians captured the US Bradley, and now they really want their own. Okay, how, why did he decide this Jeff Shogol, which is, by the way, Ukrainian name, Shogol. And after examining a US-made Bradley in Ukraine, Russian officials found it has a better main gun and better protection for its crew than the Russian armored personnel carrier. Okay. Like better gun, that's already a false statement by this Jeff Shogol, who has no clue what he's talking about. And Bradley proved itself a crappy little vehicle which cannot sustain anything, and it's been killed in hundreds. And Russians got one, or Russians got many Bradleys. So, but look how this loser Jeff Shogol frames this. Experts told Task and Purpose that the report appears to be legitimate. Guess what the report they are talking about? They are talking to, according to a Russian report that was leaked onto a Telegram channel earlier this month. That's what comes now. So they have to, this Shogol guy, he's a butthurt, he's a sore loser, he is basically useless with his education and experiences, but he wants to write about this because they need to cover somehow, to find some kind of the bright, silver lining in this humiliation of the American technology, which honestly sucks, from the Javelins to M777s to the American armor to all that. And so here it is. Well, what kind of the leaked onto the Telegram channel report? Here is the report. Okay, this is by Nobody who knows what it is in the live journal. It's called Steel and Fire, so modern and perspective tanks. Okay, so right, so you read this and they talk about this Bradley thing. If you go listen to three commentaries there, there is one professional there who says, dudes, you have no idea what you're writing about. They cannot even name the proper specifications and their what is called production items of the Russian tanks. But so here it is, this Mr. Shogol, because he's desperate, he goes out on the informational dumpster written by some masturbating fanboys and teenagers from mama's basement, and he picks this information from there and presents it as the legitimate. Russians, not only Russians, do not want to have anything like Bradley. Good Lord, but Bradley won't be really properly used within the Russian armor doctrine. So, and guess what? So he goes out and, you know, if we talk, take a look at whom he refers to, he refers to, obviously, you know, Mr. Kanchan. But then let's take a look who Mr. Jeff Shogol is. Okay, this is in conclusion. Jeff Shogol is a senior staff writer for Task and Purpose. He has covered the military for nearly 20 years. Yes, David X also covered military for whatever 20 years. The guy has no clue what he's talking about. And if you go and take a look, for example, at the Shogol's CV, then we begin to witness a very interesting story. Yeah, it's kind of like he graduated with bachelor's degree German telecommunications. He also graduated from Northwestern University, Masters of Science in Journalism. First, journalism is not a science. It's not even profession, and it's not even legitimate subject for the study. It is also not legitimate occupation. Anybody with IQ above room temperature can become a journalist. So Mr. Jeff Shogol became the journalist, and he started to write this propaganda in one of those, the Task and Purpose thing, from which, yeah, sure, if they want to talk to me, for example, and about those issues, I would gladly oblige. But what is interesting, they, as it is always the case, get their just basically general, opinions of such as Mr. Kanchan, who also, well, he served in the U.S. Marine Corps. And he talks about the just general comparison of BMP-3 and Bradley. And here comes the issue. He just gives the general thing without one way or another, just, and they use it as this, so to speak, support thing to present that, oh, Russians want Bradley. No, Russians do not want Bradley. In fact is, Bradleys are not even in the same league, even if BMP-3, especially in the gun. If you take a look at BMP-3 original, so as you can see yourself, it actually, it has the 100mm gun, a smooth bore. And this thing can actually fire reflex missiles and all kinds of other things. So if they think that 25mm whatever Bushmaster somehow is comparable to this in Bradley, I have a bridge to sell you. But of course, pardon me, Russians already have the bunch of other types of their turrets for BMP-3, including this kind of the boomerang turret with a 30mm gun. There is also all kinds of the cornets stuck around. There are all kinds of thermal sights, and latest versions are fully net-centric. So whenever Russians look at this Bradley, they're like, what the hell, man? It just... But then again, if you take a look at what Russians are working at, this is Kurganets platform. It's universal platform. As you can see yourself, it also carries the Kurganets turret, which is also boasting all kinds of the cornets, 30mm gun. There's 7.62 gun, which is remotely controlled. It is completely net-centric, extremely advanced, and well, it's just one of those things Russians do in terms of armor. And unlike, many people on those websites like this Task and Purpose, and who would know, pardon me, crap from Shinola, So Russians are not in a hurry to place those things. They want to do it right. And they developed those platforms, including T-14 Armata, which is a T-15 Armata platform with the armored personnel carrier and infantry fighting vehicles. So they work them until they are good. T-14 Armata tank, for example, took part in the special military operation, and it still does take part there, using itself as the self-propelled gun, and it performed extremely well. But yeah, once Russians are done with it and will, basically, well, improve on it with all those kinks out, and what can I say? It will be, in the serial production. But try to explain this to Mr. Chagall and try to explain to this bunch of the, fanboys who still continue to write all kinds of the pseudo-military nonsense and invent things from, as I already stated, some kind of the crappy dumpster by incompetent nincompoops who would know, again, who do not even know the proper names or improper designations of the Russian armor, allegedly Russian specialists. So, you know what? I can go and look up Kardashian's Telegram channel, and somehow in the, the comments to their Telegram, whatever, the Telegram or what have you, other channel, social media, Facebook or whatever, TikTok, and I can pick up some, maybe I'll find some armor-related comment by some admirer of the Kardashians clan, and I can refer to it. Why not? If the guy basically refers to some garbage and he tells her that, oh yeah, it somehow was leaked. No, it wasn't leaked. It's probably some kind of the, same crap which was financed by some, or just simply idiots, from Ukraine, most likely. This is what, most likely. And they refer to it. What can I say? With the experiences and expertise like that, United States Army is not gonna win any war anytime soon, unless, of course, we're talking about Panama or Grenada, and even that has to be, remains to be seen. And this is what I wanted to tell you today, guys. And this is sort of a seat wrap today. And in the end, I want to thank my wonderful patrons. I know who you are, guys, most of you anyway. And forgive me if I cannot respond to each of you. I know who you are. And so my profound thanks to them and for what they do for me. And I'm trying to do for you, give you a scientifically based and experience-based information. And as always, those who like what I do, please subscribe to my channel, and those who can afford, please support me on the Patreon or buy me a coffee and two. I would really appreciate this. So have the nice rest of the week, and I'll talk to you later, guys. Bye-bye.